Talk to me. Let's go. We are live on our YouTube. We don't own the rights to this music. We do not own the rights to this music. I'm already sweating, y'all. My hair might have to go up. This is too much hair to be down. Look at that. Too much. But try to be cute real quick for y'all. But listen, we're about to talk about it. About to get in. I see the little baby in the mix. He got his bottle on deck. We can go night-night after this. Mr. Barker in the building. Ooh. Y'all know I give him the vitamin A milk. Y'all already know.
There you go.
So listen, let's talk about it. We don't own the rights to this music. We do not own the rights to this music.
I can't get my phone off the safe mode.
What is that?
I don't know how to do it. Oh,
Oh, airplane. Did the airplane move on?
there we go.
So let's go. Let's jump in it. We told you guys for the month. We don't own the rights to this music. Maybe you can screen pause it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
We told you guys for this month, we're gonna get into more of sex conversation when it comes to marriage. And porn when it comes to marriage and just life in general. Can we pause the music?
What's that? The music?
Yes, music. That's it. I'm trying to start. Ready to go.
This is not working. I don't know what's going on.
Restart it. Marriage Mondays. And we're here to talk about it. So you see the title, sex fantasies. You gotta get in this one, babe. Sex fantasy and you gotta turn it more.
Right here.
Yeah, because I'm trying to get in this one. Okay, but not in this one. See my phone? I'm gonna turn my phone. No, you gotta put it on the books. Yeah, there it goes. Yep,
That good?
yep. Uy, salud. Really? So let's get into it. You see the title, Sex Fantasies and Marriage. Do they, first of all, who was you leading it?
No, you're leading it today.
I don't even have the notes. You have the notes. Well, hold them real quick.
What'd you do with your notes?
I don't have notes. I told you to write them down.
No, I wrote down some
I
notes.
told you to write my notes down. So, but listen, sex fantasies for one, do they even occur in marriage, right? You want this or not, buddy? Do they occur? Do y'all have, do you know if marriages exist of fantasies or think of fantasies or, really you just spit it out there? Or do they think of porn? Like, how about porn? Is porn? We want to get into that because of course it has to do with sex. So is that in the mix when it comes to marriage? What do you think?
So, sex fantasies, right? When we talk about sex fantasies, what are we really talking about?
Right.
Is it something that you really
What do you
desire?
really have on your notebook before you cross it out?
Well, what I really had was that the fact that
Big boy.
what I really had was the fact that how a lot of people use porn to fulfill their sex fantasy.
Uh-huh.
And how they try to meet those expectations
Through watching porn.
through watching porn.
So now fantasies, I believe, can be, of course, before marriage, you have some. Now, my question that I asked Brandon when we were talking about this is, do you discuss this with your spouse now that you're married? Like if you have some fantasies, or if you're thinking of some sexual fantasies, do you discuss that with your spouse? Do you bring it up? What do y'all think?
So this is the thing. What we talked about with sex fantasy, he want to take over the show today.
Right.
So when we talk about sex fantasies, right? And we talk about it in marriage, right? Do you have any sex fantasies or do you discuss any type of sexual fantasies that you have with your spouse that you would like to talk about? You know what I mean? Is there or do, you know? And how's that conversation working? Or how's that being introduced into your marriage or introduced into your relationship? Some ways it can be subliminal by, putting on certain things or sending certain messages or signals that you want this sexual fantasy fulfilled.
Right.
Now, when it comes to talking about the sexual fantasy being fulfilled, do you feel uncomfortable? You know what I mean? Or do you feel that this might shoo away your spouse to just feeling, you know, comfortable with just y'all sexual being?
So what happens if you're not comfortable?
Well, that's why you got to have this conversation, because you should be able to be comfortable with your spouse and who you with, to be open and talk about certain sexual fantasies that you have and won't fulfill. Or in a sense, like I said, what do you have? Do you just say, let's lay it on the table. Let's write a list. You write a list of your.
But what if they don't?
What?
What if no one has fantasies?
Well, the thing
is that possible?
It is possible. It is possible to not have a sexual fantasy because you never, wanted to go to experience anything new, right? And so you never thought of it.
But I think it can happen in different ways. Like you could be watching a movie that has a popping sex clip that you could be like, oh man, that was dope. Like we might even, well, you might not say it out loud, but you might think about it.
Yeah, you might think of a way
that is also considered a sex fantasy.
That we can introduce this, sexual fantasy to be fulfilled in our marriage. If you see something that was kind of nice and spontaneous, sexual, classy. And see, another way you can do is, if you both are being unfulfilled sexually, right? Why not write down a list of things that will make you feel fulfilled sexually, right? Maybe you write your list and she writes your list, and then y'all switch lists, and then y'all discuss this, right? But this is also depending on the type of marriage you have. And what if you don't have that? Hey, girl, what if you don't have that in your marriage? What if the let's say the female, what if the female has fantasies that she would like to do, hopefully with her spouse, but doesn't know how to tell him? That's where I think writing down, it's just like anything. And the thing is, writing down is also like an indirect way of really, and you can express more when you write stuff down, because usually when you say stuff, you usually tend to forget what you want to say or how you want to say it. And I think when you write it down, it's like anything, you want to think before you speak. So you think before you write. So if I write it down. Send your partner a letter. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You can actually communicate that to your spouse a certain way where it won't be offensive. They won't, think it's negative, or they won't think weird about it. And what you do is at that time, as being that person that's writing these fantasies, you also got to feel, you got to let them know that you're being vulnerable at this time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm vulnerable, but I want to open up to you and let you know these are the things that I want fulfilled to make us happy sexually in our marriage. You know what I mean? Because if not, what can occur? What can occur is different things like cheating. So it could be adultery, or you could be looking for, to get that void filled from somebody else or somewhere else. It don't have to be actually cheating, but it also could be, like we said, watching porn. You might say, oh man, I don't get it fulfilled that way. I'll watch porn to satisfy me. Yeah, and they have a lot of undercover like sex spots. Yes, I've seen it on TV. It's like, whoa, this is crazy. Like parties or like houses or groups. And I know there's a lot. Our church talked about it. There's over 500 million websites of porn and like sexual stuff. So I'm pretty sure you could find a Twitter account or what's the other fans only or something that people pay to like see certain things, or and that they can do certain things on their own. And that stuff right there can also lead to like an addiction as well. Yeah. And it could be a bad addiction, and you can start actually hurting your family, not only mentally but financially, because you'll start paying for stuff like this to see stuff like that. You know what I mean? Now you're digging in the family pot to fulfill your fantasy, hiding money for this, and then now it just keeps spiraling down, And so I think about this, and I think about, man, what if you really feel uncomfortable about a fantasy that you want to tell your spouse or a fantasy that you want to, you just want to be,
Maybe something you saw.
yeah, something that you saw, you want to be straight up forward with it about, how's that working, got reconnected. So, and then, the best thing I can say about that right there is when it comes to these fantasies, right? You want to set some type of boundaries.
With who?
With your spouse. Let's see what's going on with this. You want to set some type of boundaries, right?
Like about the fantasy or the communication?
Well, I say mainly with the communication and with actually what you want to, what you're willing to do as far as this fantasy, So what you're willing to do and the communication with the fantasy, right? This is stop going here.
Yeah, because you don't want it to be some, especially if you're married, some extreme thing that your spouse is like, yeah, I want to have, 20 women in the crib tonight and we want to, all get crazy. You want to make sure it's not something like that. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like boundaries. And even the communication and how you say and how you discuss things with your partner about this, because you don't know how your partner might react.
Right.
Because what if it's like some weird kinky thing or something?
Yeah, and see, so that's why, when you have these fantasies, right, you want to have some type of boundary. You know what I mean? You're not just willing to do everything, or anything, and some might be, it might be morally wrong that you see in your eyes. Like, hey, hold up, like.
We can't be doing that.
Yeah, we can't be doing that. That goes against, just, biblically.
But you know what? If that does occur, I believe that there should be counseling.
Of course. And
because you don't want it to seem like you're telling your spouse, oh, that's not moral for me. But then your spouse is going to be like, oh, I'm going to go somewhere else and get it done.
And so that's the thing, right? So when you create these boundaries with, fulfilling your sexual fantasies, right? You got to explain why you feel these boundaries should be in place, right? And you got to explain how does these sexual fantasies make you feel, or how uncomfortable you feel about it. And the reason why these boundaries are in place, even though you married, you still have to have these boundaries in place because it's still past trauma that could have happened with somebody that's that you married to and you don't even know. And that's a lot.
But shouldn't you also have discussed some kind of sexual fantasies before marriage?
Not necessarily, because
some kind of.
Not necessarily, because when you're just dating and you're dating to get to the point of marriage, right? You're still not really open all the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're still not open all the way. Person.
Yeah.
So you're not open all the way, and those are things that you just gradually, you know what I mean? And that's another way.
You gotta get comfortable.
You gotta get comfortable with each other and gradually go with these steps of like, okay, we'll try this, we'll try that, you know what I mean? But then if it comes to a point where it's boundaries, then somebody say, hey, hold up, I'm not really feeling that, you know what I'm saying? That's not like something that I'm really into. Then you got to respect that, for one. And then it might be also a back line behind why they don't want to go that extra mile in that fantasy that you're doing, or they don't want to fulfill it. You know what I mean?
Sure
so it might.
You don't want to trigger somebody.
Right. And then now they're like, oh man, this is reminding me of this and that, And so you got to be careful with these fantasies that you fulfill in your marriage and making sure it's right.
And sometimes you can grow a fantasy with your spouse.
Right, you can.
It could be something that, you're so connected that you might be like, well, I want to try this or I want to try that, and it doesn't have to be something you see. It could be something that you create. What's that word? Creativity.
Yeah, and so when I look at, when I feel like that you want to create some type of sexual fantasy in your marriage, I think, to me, my perspective of this sexual fantasy should be fun.
Yeah,
it should be fun. It shouldn't be nothing that, that's just
or
feels bad or just wrong or dirty or anything like that. You know what I mean? I think it should be something that you both feel fun and pleasure about. Something that maybe at the same time that you can laugh, but also makes you, aroused.
Like don't that police officer uniform or or the elephant underwear.
Yeah. And so
Get the handcuffs or something.
So-
Like y'all gotta still have fun and make it about each other.
yeah, so it's kind of more like it's not like comical, but it's funny, but it's a good laugh,
Mhm.
it's a good feeling, and I think that's how fantasies should come about. Now, this is the thing about these sexual fantasy. I wanted to ask you because you talk about this a lot, you know what I mean? You talk about certain things that a woman won't do in her marriage, that if she don't do it,
The next one will.
the next one will. So when it comes to sexual fantasy, can you break this down for me, Miss Jennifer Barker?
Like,
Because you always say,
I'm saying,
if
but
you're
when it
not
comes to
fulfilled.
fantasies, one, you have to have that boundary though, like you said. Like you're not gonna sit here and be like, well, I want to go ahead and have a threesome. That's always been my dream. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, okay, well, if I don't do it, the next one will.
Yeah,
Nah, that's something that we're not about to do.
correct.
Like that's not going down because you set the moral and you just don't do that.
Yeah,
But if it's other things that it can't be intimate between us, it can be private, it can be special. It's not like against like our faith or sinning or nothing crazy, and it's just you and me. Now, yes, I do believe, like my grandmother always said, what you won't do, the next one will.
okay, so
And it could be simple stuff.
yeah, so I was just about to get into something simple.
Yeah.
So far as like, we're all adults on here. So I like to get into this real quick. Oral
I thought you was about to say what you like. I'm gonna say, oh God.
No, oral sex, right? So
Jeez.
oral sex, that is one of those things that Jen might feel if you don't do it, the next one will, right?
Why don't we just like the real deal? Forget the oral. Some
No.
head. Do you want to get some head or not? Like, let's talk about it. Like,
I
some
like this.
people be so funny. Like, oh, what about this oral thing? No,
Well,
do you as a man want some head as a husband?
Right.
Do you as a wife also? Women can also get some head, but I say it that way. Women, you might
She's
say
so
it differently. Yeah, I say it straight from the streets. Like, okay, listen, head is happening or not? We both can get it or not. Like, so that's the simple one.
Right. So look, when it comes to that, right, and this is the thing. When it comes to that, and you say, if you don't do it, the next one will, right? And the next one will, right? And this has been like a stigma where, certain women that do this, like,
I have margaritas now.
and
I should have a drink.
and it's not just about women, but most that I heard, through certain guys, it might be that special occasion like their birthday or the anniversary. Yes,
So
we get those things right there. Now, one thing is, right, when it comes to that type of thing, right, that you getting it on your anniversary or your birthday and you want it more often.
My hair was hot.
When you want it more often, I feel that the man needs to take more time to make his wife feel comfortable in that area. And what I mean by that is like be clean, fresh, you know what I mean? Shape up guys down there, you know what I'm saying? Make it nice for her. And also at the same time, you can have those days of foreplay where you don't initially have to do that, but it eventually get to the point where it will happen, but it's where she's comfortable with you. You know what I'm saying? And she's comfortable with even just, fondling you. And it gets to a point where you might be walking around the house and your wife would just grab you and you're like, oh, whoa, what's that? And stuff, right? And that's when her comfort level is so like heightened and she's like, that's mine. Confidence. Yes, and that's mine. That's all mine. That's me. That's mine, And so different things, you got to go with that. And if that makes your husband feel good, you start getting comfortable with that. Vice versa. Yeah. Vice versa with guys. It's the same thing. You got to get comfortable with your wife, you know what I mean? And however you like it down there as far as your wife, you can tell her these things. And that's not just a fantasy, that's just your preference. You know what I'm saying? So you telling your wife, hey, this is my preference. This is what I like, how I like it to look down there. You know what I'm saying? This is what I want, and then have those moments, or you can fix it up for him and then have those moments of where the initial foreplay comes in and you guys really start, fondling each other and getting comfortable within that, kisses on the body and stuff and so, you know what I mean? So now you feel comfortable and you're not hit to the point where if you don't do it, somebody else will do it, right? So you just want to make sure that you get comfortable with your spouse in fulfilling their sexual fantasies. But remember, if you have boundaries set in place, keep those boundaries because, like I said, we don't know the backstory behind the boundaries of why they won't go that extra mile or why they won't fulfill this part of the fantasy that you want, right? So you got to just keep that in mind and be respectful. And that's why I say the communication with your sexual love language is very important. And that's very important with you guys. As far as keeping that going is the communication, right? And
yeah, that's important, especially if for women that are out there that are just not comfortable. Who's been I've been struggling with getting this boy to be away for like 2 minutes. Doesn't work. Especially if you struggle with just being comfortable and having open communication with your spouse. It's a big deal to be able to discuss certain things, to discuss, what you like with the blanket, what you like and what you don't like. And it's interesting because when we talk about like different fantasies and different things that we did some research, and lots of times there's the male, the husband that, is hiding things or, trying to find a way, how to tell the wife or, should he tell her or how he's feeling. What you do? He's gonna get mad. He's not gonna like that. And it's interesting to learn about this because we as wives have to get to the point that, we are open and comfortable in certain. He's not gonna like that. He's gonna get upset.
he's fighting it out like this.
I told you that. So, working on something like that as a unit, you're gonna have to take him out now because you don't woke him up. So this is the story of our situation. I'm probably hiding that blanket. I just put it around so he won't move in the chair. But so regarding so different fantasies, so it's important, like talk about it. Like and one thing I want to say is when we say fantasy, like I don't want y'all to be like alarmed or scared or be like, oh my God, these are like some freaks. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. A fantasy could be a simple as my husband was saying. It could be, maybe the husband might like more foreplay in certain aspects than other. That to that person, to your husband, that might be his fantasy.
Or it might be dressing up in lingerie.
That won't do it. I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
I was just about to say dressing up, getting a different outfit, the nurse, the schoolgirl, the lingerie.
Maybe you one of those guys who, do a lot of construction work and maybe your wife and maybe your wife want to see you in a suit one day.
Oh yeah, that'll be better.
Or vice versa. Maybe you in a suit all the time and your wife want to see you in some
the raggedy
handiwork and
the rough man come through.
The roughneck,
come
right?
With the Timbs. Come bend the nose. Put on some Timbs and a hoodie and we good.
You want the roughneck every now and then, right? And there's nothing wrong because look, what do you
and who says you gotta get completely naked?
Right.
Like there's different like fantasies that you might want to discuss it with your spouse. Like I remember it was a while back. I told Brandon one time, I said, dude, all you gotta do is put on the hoodie with a Scully hat, you know what I'm saying? Put on the Timbs, and you could just lift and go. Like we don't even gotta get all extra with it. Like I just want to see the hood. Y'all know what it is. Come on, man, stop. Y'all acting like I'm the only hood one out here. Back in the days, you guys know. Like, and I told Brandon, like certain times for certain things, can work and turn someone on.
Look, bring those characters out. Like everybody.
My friend said it's Speedos.
Everybody got different personalities and different we call them masks. You wear different masks for different times, right? So bring out those different personalities that you like to entertain sometimes, and maybe your wife might like it or maybe your husband might like it. Bring that person out and be like, oh, I like it when, and be fun with it. Give names to those personalities, you know what I mean? You can do something like that, and then,
just don't use an X name.
Yeah, right. Just don't use the X name. But this is the thing, right? you can give names to those personality, and guess what makes it so spontaneous when you out in public, right?
You can use them slick names.
And you call them by their slick name, and your spouse is the only one who knows that name, and they're like, okay.
I know it's funny because I use that with Brandon sometimes when we be out, especially like if it's date night or something and we having drinks or used to, go out or whatever. I tell him like, yo, I hope so and so come through tonight because I'm ready to see that brother. I ain't seen him in a minute, and it becomes like flirtatious and fun, and you open that communication, that love, that this different language. And then how cool is it that you and your husband are the only one to understand this?
Yeah, you understand that. And y'all out in public and nobody knows like what?
She's talking about so coming through, but she with her dude, So and another thing is to kind of rear into it is do you think watching the porn is a big like yes or deal or like no or fantasy?
And so this is what I was saying, some people might have that sexual fantasy of where they want their spouse to watch porn.
You knocked out, he tricked you.
I know. They want their spouse to watch porn with them. And, I want to just get into just a few things that can happen with this thing of, watching porn together. You know what I mean? First, the first thing that, watching porn together, most people try to reenact what is going on. And just like reality TV, porn is scripted too. They got a script that they got to stick by, right? So you being the one to try to reenact what's going on, more likely it's not going to happen. They do cuts, they do takes and everything like that,
right.
So you reenacting that. That's another thing.
Or trying to expect what they're doing.
Yes, so you living up to try to live up to their expectation, and you might not meet their expectations. So who's happy at the end of the day? Maybe neither one of you is not happy because you didn't meet the expectation. The other thing that I got into is when you're actually searching to watch a couple, right? Now, what are you searching for? Are you searching for the attractive couple, right? So now you're looking for the attractive couple. And
now you feeling bad.
Or like now the attractive couple, you're into the couple more than you're into your spouse, right? So how does that work? And now you're about to try to get something from your spouse, but she's not fulfilling.
So now it can play you.
Yeah, she's not fulfilling that, that attractive spouse that you was looking for. The next thing I got into, doing something like that is secondly.
But what about also like jealousy?
Well, that's the thing too, and that was the next thing I was getting. Maybe the woman might look better than your wife, and your man is into the woman, or vice versa. Your wife is into the man more.
His thing might be bigger.
Yeah.
Wife, you might be like, man, that thing big, and now you're like, oh.
Yeah, and so
said it out loud.
And then I'll get into, I don't want to get too deep, but I got into a third topic of deep where, hey, your wife might think the girl look good. You know what I'm saying? And your husband might think the dude look good and nobody's saying nothing, right? See, I'm going to go deep with you if you want to go deep there now. And then you like, okay, what's really going on? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So those type of things can actually play a part. And when you start doing stuff like that and trying to live up to those expectations, I did have a third one, but my wife told me to slow down because she didn't want to get too deep. So I forgot what I was going to write. I was going to write down the third one. But those are things that can be revealed through doing stuff like that. And so that's why you want to just keep the sexual fantasies between basically you and your spouse on what y'all doing to fulfill and make each other happy and not competing with nobody else. Yes, damn, right? That's silly, right? So, and I wanted to break it down to you guys on that aspect. And you want to just make sure you keep everything in a safe spot. And you can also go to the point where you even have code words that you mean like, hey, I want you to stop if I say this word or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you want to have that in place just in case, it goes a little bit further, or you think it might be, you're willing to try something, but
and don't feel bad like when you're being, open or having certain conversations, because you never know. You might be like, man, this sounds crazy, or it might be embarrassing, or it might be, you might think, oh, what if he won't like it, or what if he thinks I'm too much, what if he thinks I'm a freak or something. But little do you know, your spouse might be like, oh, that's what's up. Like,
I've been waiting for you to say something like that, or I wanted to do something like that.
Last thing you want is your spouse to be having these fantasies or sexual thoughts and pleasures with someone else in their mind.
And going out to
You
look for
know,
that.
even dreams. I know
Yeah.
our pastor talked about this, having sexual dreams. Like you don't want to hear, which I don't know if a spouse will tell each other this. Hopefully you would, but I'm just saying, depending on how y'all connected, last thing you need is your spouse having a sexual dream with someone else.
Yeah. But at that same time, if that do happen, there's nothing wrong with explaining that dream and saying, I don't know why I'm having this dream,
Figure
or
it out, yeah.
figure it out, you know what I mean? But you know, you want to have that. And that's also just keeping you both aware on what's going on. And a lot of times when you have those dreams about somebody, it's probably more likely that you guys are being disconnected in your marriage. Something's not going right, you know, or y'all spaced away from each other and y'all haven't been as intimate, as intentionally loving each
Yeah, the
other.
connection is good. And you know what? I'm glad you said as connected with intimacy, because that's one of the forms our pastor mentioned that the Satan, you know, trying to come into your thoughts, into your brain, especially if you're not having that bond or that connection or that intimacy with your spouse.
Yeah.
And now you're having dreams either with someone else or just sexual or just whatever. That's that thought of pleasure or elsewhere, or you know, something like that. And the other thing I wanted to mention was what was I gonna say? Oh, we actually had, you mentioned connection. We actually had a scenario, this was a while ago, that what happened? I think when was this, like years? I think it might have been several years, maybe a year or two back, I don't remember. But you were able to realize when I had a dream because you had a dream. Remember that?
Yeah.
So and it was interesting because it was like I don't even remember. I don't remember if it was a sexual dream or I don't know. But I had a dream. And it wasn't Brandon, it was someone else, right? I don't remember. Was it I don't think it was sexual. I don't know. But and I didn't say nothing. So I was like, oh, I don't know. This is kind of weird. Like, why am I dreaming about that? Right. And then a couple of days later, like literally like 2 days later, Brandon has a dream of me. Was it of me with someone or a sexual? Something went down that we both were like figuring out that we were so connected that we knew we were having our thoughts and our dreams elsewhere. And it was like a trigger to like, okay, what's happening?
Yeah, and that's probably saying that we wasn't on the right page at that time, or we was going through some type of thing in our marriage, you know. And that's why I like to be transparent. You're gonna go through stuff in your marriage, right? And you're gonna get those signals. And most women get them more than men. You know, they get that, they call it what, intuition of something that's going on or something's not right, right? But as men, we get those same type of feelings too. You know, you just got to be more aware of it, you know, and stuff when those things start to happen and how you feel, and just keep mindful on, you know, the things that are going on around you. But the communication with your fantasies is very important, and it's very important in your marriage, you know. And that also goes into, you know, like expectations, you know, what you expect and what you don't expect, you know, as far as the sexual fantasies. And this right here makes it a lot easier if you guys can do this kind of like a date night type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I don't even want to, honestly, I don't believe in, oh, I never had a fantasy. Oh, I've never had a sexual idea or creative thoughts or encounter.
And if you haven't had one,
you know,
if you
something
haven't-
crazy like that.
if you
I
haven't-
don't believe.
if you haven't had one, you should get really creative and surprise, you know. And you can start off little, you know, maybe, you know,
Maybe you haven't had one with your spouse, but I know you had.
maybe change, you know, and look, changing your hair color could be change a fantasy for your husband. You know what I'm saying?
I remember, I forgot, one of my friends put on Facebook. She said her dude put on Facebook that he don't even gotta worry about going to tea or nothing because his girl got all the different wigs and she just be switching them up. So to him, it's like
she's a different girl
every
Yeah,
time.
every time.
It's like, I don't know. I come home to sometimes. Like she might have, you know, the short bob or the long blonde or the braids, or it was so funny.
And that's good. But see, that's keeping them exciting and stuff like that. It's the same one, but guess what? She is playing out those personality, fulfilling her husband.
Try a wig one time.
That would just shock me off guard
I
because
don't
I
even
never
know
said,
what she
yeah.
did.
But those type of things are fun, and it's fun because I know at first he probably laughed about it when she switched to a certain type of wig, but then he was like, he thought about it, he was like, okay, you know,
You look cute in that one. I like that one on her today.
So this is the thing that we wanted to just talk about, far as just like marriage
Being open.
and
Because some of y'all are out there. Some of y'all are out there. In these streets, not discussing with your spouse any sexual thoughts, pleasure, wants, and needs while your spouse is in the other room hanging out thinking everything is peaches and cream.
Yeah. And this is
like we got to get real with it. This is a big thing when it comes to marriage.
And like I said, this should be used often as like almost date night. You know what I mean? And that right there, I think that'll keep the fire going right in your marriage. You know what I mean? So that'll keep the fire going, and that'll keep the spontaneous, the thrill, the excitement, not the routine. You know what I mean? Those type of fantasies will be fun, and it will really help your marriage, and it will help you guys just bond a lot closer. And I think that will help you guys in the long run. So
that's great.
With that said, I'm glad.
What fantasies you got?
Girl, you don't fulfill most of them.
I don't fulfill. We gotta figure this out.
But I got a creative mind.
A to-do list, right? Listen, you God gave you a creative mind and imagination to use and to see the future and be like, okay, I thought about this, I thought about that. What are we about to do? How are we about to screw this up?
Get some costumes.
That's silly.
Anyway, but thank you guys.
Would you wear a Speedo like my friend said? I thought about like the elephant. Y'all know the elephant animal looking Speedos.
Speedo is really, like a Speedo really, that's kind of like pushing the boundaries with me.
It's for the house though, not to go out.
I know, but like really,
you jump out like
when I think of Speedos, I think of a male thong, you know what I'm saying? And like,
oh, what if I get you one with the thong?
Man, that is crazy, dude.
That would feel weird, right?
Yes, very weird.
But you got a nice butt though.
I don't know.
You got a nice butt.
No.
But my friend said I was joking.
Yeah,
I know you were, but listen, they do have some of those the like animal ones and stuff. Like that'll be interesting.
You know what? They should make a Speedo. They should make a Speedo with the ass out. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to have the string. It just goes around your waist and grabs
you. You can find one. It's just the front.
Yeah.
It's a nice little invention. You better get it together. You better pan that. Start selling it. Sex sells, buddy. Yeah. But anyway, so listen, it's a serious real talk. It's real, but you also can enjoy and have fun with each other. And if you guys can know, like me and Brandon, we've always been, he's watching this with me. We've always been, very open about communicating and about sex. And honestly, I really do believe that out of the 13 years, and I told Brandon this the other day, like, I think the sex topic and communication has always been our number one, like, open, like go to the talk.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We want to make sure that, this is the thing is people think marriage is boring, right? Marriage is fun, right? It's actually fun because like I said, now you can be really open with the person that you with, you know what I'm saying? And you really get to explore each other and have fun with it, Mm-hmm. So, and that's your best friend.
I'll take a pic, girl. So he could do it.
That's your best friend. You can talk, y'all can crack jokes, you know what I'm saying? Y'all not gonna be on the same page sometimes y'all will.
Some stuff you might be like, you telling me way too much information.
Right.
Every time I'm ready, like, babe, maybe you could have just not said that part and just like went on to the next part.
Yeah.
And like it's just funny. But at the end of the day, the same way we go to if you're not doing it, who is? If he's not talking to you, who is he talking to?
About it, right?
Really? You heard him?
Yeah.
So, yes, he could have guy friends, of course, but like as far as like intimacy, you want that to be, your spouse. But that was it. Yeah,
thank you guys for tuning in. We hope we brought some value with this conversation. That's our goal. Is to bring value to your marriages,
We have an amazing surprise at the end of the month.
Oh, amazing surprise.
By the end of the month, that we've been working on while we've been home with busy Fernando keeping me up and
Yes.
semi-energized.
But we will be back on Wednesday with another hot, sexy topic, right?
I still
And,
want to discuss what,
What would you want to discuss? How many times should you have sex during the week? Or is it a week?
yeah,
Okay,
I would hope it's a week. If
Okay.
y'all think it's a month or 2 weeks or something, please post it.
yes.
But I really would like to discuss
How
that.
many times you should have sex during the week, right?
Healthy wise, fun wise, entertaining wise.
Right.
I really would like to discuss that. So we'll see what's going on.
You gonna pray us out?
No, I did last time.
Oh man, there she go, there she go. All right, here we go. Spirit of the living God, thank you for everything you blessed us with. Thank you for bringing this topic to the forefront for our sexual fantasies with marriages. And I feel that us opening up this conversation will help a lot of marriages open up their conversation for us, fulfilling each other's fantasies, knowing their boundaries, knowing how they really can be vulnerable to their partner and discuss how they feel and how they want to feel sexually fulfilled in God's way, with just having sex and being one flesh with each other. And I just feel that, Father, I just pray that you give them the communication, you give them the heart, even to write this down, if it's in a letter or if it's through, the way they communicate, where they can just really be open and transparent about something that they really, have a desire that, don't go against what you say and your will, Father, and just be happy and blissful in their love and sex life. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Yeah,
Have a
good
blessed
night.
and beautiful night. Continue to follow us, like, subscribe on
Again,
YouTube.
follow us on Instagram, marriage.p.o.r.n.
What's this thing?
Yes, pure, open, renew, and navigate, guys. Follow us on Instagram, the Barker family on YouTube. And until next time, y'all have a good night. Peace.
Hallelujah. Have a blessed and beautiful night. Follow us and subscribe.
Right.